today we're gonna go through something which is very unique in terms of every 3D rendering artist experience out there, because you're gonna wonder about 3D rendering prices, whether you're a beginner or well off in your journey. Throughout the last 4 years, I've tried a lot of different methods to check out which one of them works best for 3D artists to make the most amount of money that way you're not getting used by architects, real estate developers, or anyone else out there. Now, we're gonna start off with the most general and most popular way that 3D artists charge, which is hourly rate. Now, this has probably come because usually in the traditional path, your worth is kind of valued at how much you are paid per hour. And not only that, but one of the biggest freelancing platforms that most of the artists start out there, Upwork, has a paying structure of hourly rate. So that kind of behavior gets carried on throughout someone's whole career path, basically in 3D rendering. So the first option is hourly rate, right? So I'm gonna write this down, hourly. Well, here's the issue with charging in an hourly rate. First off, the amount of time that you spend into something is directly correlated with the amount of money that you make. Now, this alone kind of messes up your whole situation in terms of outsourcing, freeing up your time. That way you spend a lot more effort into getting more clients rather than the delivery. However, not only that, let's say you want to get the work done yourself. Here's where this contradicts itself. Let's say you're an intermediate 3D artist and you charge $30 per hour, right? And let's say there's another artist that charges $30 per hour, but he's a little bit worse than you. So this is the other 3D artists, right? And you get a similar project, pretty much the same kind of workload. And since you're good intermediate, you're able to finish that in only 10 hours. Meanwhile, the other 3D artist takes 20 hours. So double the amount of time that you take in order to finish that same project. Well, what's happening here is that the second 3D artist, so not you, he's making $600 while you're making only $300. You're better than him, you're more efficient than him, but you're still getting punished for being better. And this is basically the main reason why hourly rate doesn't work. So once again, if you're starting out, take whatever you can get, do hourly work, whatever, just to get some experience, maybe sometimes even work for free. However, if you're looking at things long-term, don't make these things a habit. Hourly rate is not sustainable and will not work in the long run. Another thing that you have to keep in mind with the hourly rate is a lot of people see freelancing or working online as something freedom that gives you freedom. However, an hourly rate that isn't always the case. Most of the time you cannot always select the hours that you want to work, okay? And you're gonna be forced into getting the stuff done as fast as possible, and you're gonna have to work 12-hour days. Now, I've done a little bit of hourly rate work, and this is usually with consultations, which is a whole other side of my business. It's not freelancing or 3D work. However, it's not very sustainable. Always remind yourself that you're being punished for being better than someone who is less efficient than you in terms of hourly pricing. Now, as we move on, there's another pricing method that a lot of 3D artists use, which, to your surprise, it's actually a lot worse. So, in a lot of third world countries, including my country, Kosovo, there's a big habit in the architecture industry, in the architecture, engineering, and construction industry to charge per square meter, square feet, basically on area price. Well, that turns out that has been transferred to the 3D visualization industry as well. And I want to show you why this is a big issue too. Keep in mind, watch this all the way through the end, because there's a lot of things that are either going to make or break your ability to make a living out of 3D rendering. So, first off, this is the second option, by the way. So, if you're charging per area, let's say this is the area you're charging for, and this is 30 meters square, 30 square meters, whatever, and you charge, let's say, $5 per square meter. Do you think that 30 square meter of living room and 30 square meter of a hotel lobby have and take the same amount of effort to deliver to a client? Well, in my opinion and in my experience, I can tell you most definitely not. A lot of the time, the hotel lobby will take a lot longer than just rendering, modeling, and doing the materials, texturing, lighting, all of that for a living room. Okay, now if you charge per square meter per area, I guess in some countries it is easier for the architects to calculate if it's worth it for them or not, because there's a lot of places where architects charge $10 per square meter. However, the places where architects charge by area size, that is not your target market. You want to stay away from them as much as possible, ideally. They just won't pay you well. The type of clients are super annoying, and I worked with in over 40 plus countries by now, and I can tell you that most of the time, every country that charges in terms of square meters, square feet with architecture or design or anything like that, they're not worth even having a conversation with, okay? Including my country. So stay away from area size, and as you can see, you can probably tell that there's renders with less amount of area, less amount of square meter that have a lot more effort into being rendered than 100 square meter, I don't know, warehouse, right? So keep that in mind. This isn't an option as well. So by now, we know that charging per area isn't gonna favor us, and we know that charging per hourly rate is not gonna favor us, okay? What other options do we have out there? Well, let's see. I'm gonna take this off. And I mean, a lot of different 3D artists out there charge per image or per value. Now, this is very tricky because you're not always going to have a set amount of dollars or a price every time a client asks you how much do you charge, and the kind of takes them off if you say that it depends, we need to have a meeting, and it just adds a lot more extra step until you get the sale. So what a lot of people do, instead of saying it depends, they calculate the average amount of dollars that they would need to create one render. And there's a lot of countries where 3D artists charge, for example, $1,000 per image, right? That is not uncommon. That's even probably considered in the lower end when it comes to professional 3D visualizations. Now, the real issue with this is you're charging per value, and not everyone has the same amount of value in 3D renders, so it's going to be hard to find kind of the same level of clients. Someone who is developing a hotel, I'm still taking the hotel lobby, by the way, as reference or as example. The hotel lobby is one of the most important parts of the project, and people are willing to pay $5,000 just for that one render. Now, you cannot charge the same amount for a hotel lobby per image as you can charge for a bathroom, right? At the same time, you cannot charge $1,000 for the hotel lobby, since that's what we would charge per bathroom. Now, this is still a lot better than charging hourly rate or even per square meter or area size. And that's simply because you are kind of understanding and you're guessing what the value of the render is to the client. Let's say you don't even have a set price. You first get in the meeting with the client, they show you the project, and then from there on, you kind of guess what the renders are worth to your client, right? There's a lot of times where people charge $15,000 just for 3 images of a property that's going to be sold for $800,000 or $1 million in the UK, the US, in Australia. And these images are super important for the clients, and they definitely see the value of paying you $15,000 just because they're going to use these images in order to sell their property. So look at it as an investment, right? This is more so, more kind of, I guess, popular with real estate developers rather than architects. But let's also take a look at having architects as a client, right? If they're gonna apply to a competition, which if they win, they're gonna get, I don't know, $700,000, right? And if they're confident and if they're certain that your renders are gonna increase their chances of winning, so if their chances of winning go up, they're basically going to be ready to pay a lot of money for this. So at least $20,000 or $30,000. This would be maybe 2 weeks work of your time. Now, for me and for most of your artists, this is not a bad deal. I mean, if you get one of these projects every 2 weeks, you're basically a $500,000 per year business just by doing 3D renders. You can outsource them and all that stuff. Now, if you charge per value, it's going to be a lot easier to outsource than doing hourly rate and doing square footage or square meters in that sense, because it's just easier to find people who charge per image rather than charging per square meter or per hour. And this is where it gets good, because what you can do is you can go ahead and ask other 3D artists how much they charge per image. So most of the time, the average for what I've asked is around $800 per image. And I'm talking about real kind of established artists, especially in Eastern Europe, where those are the countries that most 3D artists kind of get really good at. They have a culture of a lot of trainings for 3D rendering over there, and a lot of people choose this as a career. Now, here's what I will kind of let you know when it comes to outsourcing work from that side of the world. You want to get a minimum of 30 different 3D artists on a call. And you want to ask their prices, each one of them. You choose or shortlist 5 of them. And what you're going to do is that you're going to take each one of them, the amount they charge. So let's say the average is 800. And what you're going to do is you're going to charge every single client that you talk with. You're going to charge your clients $2,000 per image. Now, this might get scary. Maybe you haven't charged this much ever in your life. However, this is definitely worth shooting the shot, and you're probably not going to get a few first clients you're going to get in call with, because you're not going to be as confident to charge that price. However, what's going to happen here is I'm going to charge $2,000, right? You're going to charge, let me just clear this out. You're going to charge $2,000. You're going to charge $2,000 per image. And let's say you get a project for 5 different images, right? So that would be $10,000. And for the $10,000 project, in order to fulfill that, you're going to pay someone that charges $800 per render, which in that case would be $4,000. I know I'm supposed to write this here, whatever. So after this is done, and if your 3D artist is good, and if you know how to communicate between the client, the 3D artist, and keep that communication well, you're going to be left with $6,000. Now you're probably wondering, why would I give up $4,000 when I can do it myself? And the answer is simple. You're freeing up time from yourself to not focus on delivery, but rather focusing on getting as many clients as possible through outreach. And this is basically you leverage tasks rather than focusing on the delivery. Yes, the delivery can get you more projects, but if someone can do the delivery better than you, which chances are they will, then you're going to be better off just outsourcing that and charging extra to the client. You're going to get better paying clients, which are going to have a bit less kind of requests from you. They're going to have less revisions. That's just what I have as experience, because most clients that pay well, they're usually not that annoying and they don't have too many requests. They're easier to work with, just in case you're wondering. Now, let's say the 3D artist that you chose kind of messes this whole thing up. The reason why we charge $2,000 for something that costs us $800 is very simple, and I will let you know why. Most of the time, you're going to be just fine if you just charge $1,000 and $1,600. But since you're just starting out, I think it's safer to go with $2,000. Now, the reason why we do this is if the 3D artist over here fails us, you still have $6,000 to play around with. And what I mean by play around with is basically find a solution to still fulfill the project. Even if you're left with no profit, even if you're left with very little profit, you still maintain the relationship with the client, and that should be your priority when doing 3D work, because that client is going to give you more projects. They're going to coming back, and you're going to get a bigger lifetime gross profit from the client. And on top of that, you're still going to keep, let's say if you find another one that charges the same amount, you're going to still keep a little bit of profit. Now, this is probably not ideal. You're wondering, why would I be left with $2,000 if I could have just done it myself for $10,000? The reason is simple. You will never be able to scale unless you outsource and get other people to do the delivery rather than focusing on that yourself. So this is the value-based system or per image system that I just showed you. Now, the final and probably my favorite way of pricing, we're gonna get to that right now. And what I mean by my favorite way of pricing is this has been my most recent way that I price my 3D rendering work. I used to price value-based, basically the third option, just until June 2023. So just to do a recap, until now, we took a look at hourly rate. We took a look at square footage, or square meters, whatever, area based. And we took a look at value based. Basically, how much value the client is going to get for our renders. Now, out of these three, always go with this one, okay? Just go with that one, trust me. Not only with outsourcing, that is good, but also with the way that your amount of money that you make is not tied up with the amount of time that you spend on doing the task. However, one thing that you have to take care of and beware when doing value-based is to not fall into a cycle that I see a lot of people fall into, okay? The cycle is very simple, okay? And I'm going to show you how we can avoid that cycle. So the first step is to get a client, right? We're going to get the client that will pay us money, okay? After we get the client, then the second step is going to be to deliver the images, deliver the work, whatever, okay? After this, you're probably going to have some revisions. Your work is probably going to get approved, and then you're back into getting more clients, okay? So every single time that you're doing the render, you're getting back at square one. You don't have any progress left, and you're back after chasing other clients and trying to get more and more work and more revenue, and you get done with the work, and now you have nothing in your hands. Well, this thing is very, very simply avoided by the next method of pricing that I'm going to show you. And the next method of pricing is subscription-based. How does a subscription-based method for 3D rendering work? I haven't seen anyone charge this way before in 3D rendering. I see a lot of people do that with graphic design, so I decided to bring it in 3D rendering last year, and it worked tremendously well with my agency. So here's how this works. You charge every single client $5,000 per month, right? And every time you charge them $5,000 per month, within that month, they have unlimited projects. So they have unlimited projects, but obviously only one at a time. Okay? You might be wondering, if I'm going to create unlimited images for them, why not charge them per image? Well, the answer is simple. The offer is going to be very no-brainer for the client. And on top of that, you're going to have a client every single month that you don't have to worry about, and it's going to be so much easier to outsource. Let me show you how. Right now, I charge $5,000 per month. By the way, this is probably going to go up to, I'm probably going to double it in the next 2 or 3 months. Just because I'm getting a lot of requests right now, and I don't want to get a lot of clients, but I want to keep the good clients that I have right now. And this is what you want to do as well, by the way, in your career as a 3D artist, because I'm getting a bit off track here, but every time you hear a lot of people saying yes to your price, just know it's time to make it a lot larger, okay? Now, if you charge $5,000 per month, the best thing you can do is, if you know you're gonna get the client over and over again, you can pay someone full-time in a third world country for $1,000 per month, right? So you're gonna pay the $1,000 per month, and you can have one employee in a third world country per client that you have. Imagine how easy that's going to be for you to kind of manage everything. By the way, most clients don't even use a crazy amount of projects during the month. They're really well happy if they send you 2 projects per month at the most. Even if they do send a lot more, the good thing about it is going to be that they're not going to send too many revisions, because they want to mash up as much work as possible into this 1 month, right? So They're going to try to use the 5K that they spend for this as much as possible. They're going to try to get as many projects as possible in there so there's not going to be as much revisions. And you know, revisions can kind of mess things up completely. But if you remember this cycle that I showed you earlier that most of yours fall into, with finding a client, delivering the work, getting the work accepted, then back to find a client, you don't have to do it like that. If you want to make 6 figures as a 3D artist, all you have to do is find 2 people who are going to pay you $5,000 per month, and you're going to be making $10,000 per month, which is $120,000 per year. It is not that hard to get 2 people to pay $5,000 per month in 12 months, okay? Now, this is going to make a lot of sense for your clients. This is going to make a lot of sense for you. And the reason is very simple. You don't have to worry about getting your next client because you already have an idea where the client is coming from. The client is not going to have to worry about managing a team because you're basically going to manage a team for them and deliver all of the work. They don't have to go back and forth with negotiations, join meetings to talk about prices, and it's just going to save a lot more time, and it's basically a productized service. Now, this is not very popular yet, but I'm sure that there's a lot more people that are going to do this with 3D rendering soon. However, what I would advise you to do is, if you're starting out, once again, get whatever you can, but even if you're intermediate, start with value-based pricing. Maybe get a few projects for a client at 3K, maybe get $10,000 from the client. And after a month or two that they've been sending you regular work, upsell them into this $5,000 a month retainer. This is where you hand off the work to third-world country artists. They do the work amazing, by the way. There's a lot of talented people out there, and $1,000 per month over there is very, very good money. Just things that I wish I knew when I started out, and a lot of my kind of trial and error amongst the last 4 years, and I'm trying to share it with you out here online. So if you enjoyed this video and you still want to learn more about the 3D rendering business, watch the video right here.